I just got a short statement I want to make before we open up for questions. Thanks obviously for coming. Given recent media speculation, we're here to clarify the status with respect to Mr Earl. In August 2013, Mr Earl was stood down following admission he breached the NRL's anti-doping policy. We acted quickly to ensure a player who admitted using performance-enhancing drugs was not playing in our competition. There's no place for drugs in our sport, and we make no apologies for taking the stance. After being stood down, Sandor engaged in discussions with the SADA with regards to substantial assistance. These discussions have now concluded, and Mr Earl has been placed on the SADA's register of findings last week, and now we can finalise the process and offer him a hearing before our anti-doping tribunal. So that's the status from our perspective. So any questions?
So do we drop the trafficking charge, Jim?
No, actually he's been, the allegation is multiple charges which include trafficking.
You're going to persist with that?
Yes, there's multiple trafficking charges. So yes, so we'll continue on that path.
Dave Smith's handling of the affair, Jim, was labelled foolish this morning. What's your response?
I think that's not the case. I think we're very comfortable with the process we've gone through. As I say, we've got an anti-doping policy in place. When we've got an individual who admits to performance-enhancing drugs, the only step we can take is to make sure he's stood down and then to continue the process from there.
So claims that the NRL jumped the gun, Jim, went too early, went too hard, too fast, you deny that completely?
Without a doubt, yeah. Our process, we're very comfortable with the process, and as I said before, if we've got an individual who's admitting to taking performance-enhancing drugs, there's no alternative to have him not playing in our competition.
But if ASADA says there's no evidence there for trafficking, how can
No. I think ASADA said there's no evidence for tracking of a certain substance. There's other substances involved here other than that substance.
Can you clarify that, Jim? Because obviously it's CJC 1295, that charge has been dropped.
We've made that statement in a press release today. You can get that from a press release. So there's other substances involved other than that one particular substance.
Can you detail those for us though, Jim?
No, well, you can read that in a press release today. So there's multiple substances, and what ASADA haven't listed obviously is the one particular one.
Are those substances of a personal quantity or more than that?
Those substances again are varying quantities, and as ASADA still works through this process and it's now part of our anti-doping tribunal, we'll work through that process with Sandor.
Would you describe them as a personal quantity though? Because that's, when you talk about trafficking.
Yeah, and again, we'll work through that process as he goes in front of our anti-doping tribunal.
I suppose just as fans of the game out there and players, everyone just wants some clarity on this.
Well, the most important clarity for fans of the game is that drugs in our sport is completely unacceptable. There is no place for it, and any player who admits taking performance-enhancing drugs will not be playing in our competition.
If he serves out his suspension, could you see him back in the NRL?
If he's clean from taking drugs, and then obviously we would look at any particular registration.
So the door's not shut for him?
No, I think anybody who obviously takes drugs, and if they make a mistake by doing that and they're clean on that, that's something we'd always be open to do. So have a look at that.
The process, where does it go now, Jim, and how long will it take before he gets that?
Well, I mean, we're hoping to get this to a conclusion as soon as possible. We're certainly contacting, obviously, the appropriate parties to make sure that we get the anti-doping tribunal set up as soon as we can. We'll offer that to Sandor. He obviously doesn't have to take that, but he certainly can.
This process has been going on for 15 months, Jim. Is it embarrassing for the game?
I think if you go back to the darkest day in Australian sport, I think none of us anticipated it was going to take as long as it's taken. From the outset, we said that we will work with ASADA on this. We'll obviously look to support them to get to the outcome. But for us, it's about as soon as we've got facts, we'll act. And until such times as we've got those facts, we can't act.
Was the darkest day in Australian sport a beat-up? Was that a beat-up line?
I think that's for you guys to determine that, not for us to say. We're still working through that process.
What lessons has the NRL learned from trying to handle matters like this?
I think we've sort of talked quite a bit about that, obviously over recent months in regards to governance, and we're working with all of our clubs. As you know, we've actually introduced a lot of new rules around supplements, etc. The doctor now reporting to the CEOs, all those types of things. So we actually, in every dark cloud there's a silver lining. I think the sport's in a better position now with respect to that than it's been before.
Given Sandor has cooperated so well with the investigations to date, can he expect some reduced lenient sentence?
That's a matter for ASADA, between ASADA and him.
It doesn't work with you the same way?
No, our anti-doping policy will take into account what ASADA and WADA provide us in regards to their thoughts on substantial assistance.
Given it's dragged on for so long though, Jim, and given this player was young, admits being naive and says he tried to cooperate as much as he could, are we not sending a bad message to other players about cooperation? It doesn't.
Well, no. The message we're sending is that drugs in our sport is completely unacceptable. And at the end of the day, if he, at the end of this process, gets stood down for a period of time, the positive from his point of view, part of this period counts.
Sandor claims he's been hung out to dry and the NRL failed to follow due process. What's your response to that?
We are very comfortable with the process we have followed. And as I say, if we are faced with an individual who admitted taking performance-enhancing drugs, there was no alternative for us other than to ensure he wasn't playing in our competition.
Jim, you've announced you're resigning at the end of the year. You're the latest in quite a list of people putting for the NRL. Is this a difficult place to work?
No, God no, this is a great place to work. It's really been an enjoyable place. I mean, I've been here, by the time I leave at the end of this year, for nearly 2 years. It's been a really sort of mixed day for me. Obviously, it's pretty sad to be going. I know Dave Smith's obviously making a massive difference for the game and taking it in the right direction. And but the opportunity to go back home, when I came here I always knew it was a short period, 2 or 3 years, and my kids are still in New Zealand, even though I don't really have a very strong Kiwi accent. New Zealand's home for me, but it's really important and I want to stay in the game, and when the Warriors approached me, that was an opportunity to get both to happen at the same time.
So
I think for me, very much a good incidence. I mean, obviously I've really enjoyed working with Dave. I mean, Dave's the smartest guy I've ever worked with. So to be part of that, to be part of where he's taken the game, to work with the rest of the executive team and the whole of the NRL. If I can assure you, if I came here from Scotland, I would definitely be here forever. I wouldn't be going back there. But having been in New Zealand for 20 years and the kids are there, that's the only reason.
Would this Asada debacle, Jim, sort of be? Oh, no, sorry, I shouldn't say. Retract that. Would this Asada investigation perhaps be your low point in the time you've been here? I
think it's at the end of the day, it's how you deal with things rather than what actually happens. I've got another 5 months to go before I leave, and hopefully we can get this completely finished and put to bed before then. I would certainly be very disappointing for me to go and it's still hanging around.
Is there any indication where the other issues, i.e. Noah and 31 players?
Again, it's not for me at this point in time. We continue to work with Asada, pushing them to ensure that we bring this to a resolution, and they are really keen to bring this to a resolution as quickly as possible as well. It's a great opportunity to make a difference. You know, come into the game, and it's by far the best game around, and therefore why wouldn't you want to get in when the game's going through significant positive change? So it's a real great opportunity. Hopefully there's lots of people out there.